going on, people of YouTube? It's Shannon here. You know what time it is, people. Another official Stogies review. In this ever-evolving industry, it could be hard to keep up with the latest and greatest in vaping technology and vaping needs, but fortunately for you, the consumer, we got your back. Today we're going to be reviewing the IPV5. I think it's a pretty nice little solid device. There are some quirks to it though, and I figure I'd show you all a little bit more in the up close. But without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get started. And we are back. So I figure I'll show you this device a little bit more in depth. However, I am going to go ahead and give you a little rundown on the outside at a glance, just so you can better understand what the device looks like and how it feels in the hand. Upon getting the device out, you will notice that it feels a little bit different than the IPVs of the past. I do like that though. A lot of people were complaining that they didn't feel like it was going to live up to what IPV usually stands for. I mean, in regards to the way that the box is shaped, I feel like, yeah, I can understand that, but as far as when it comes to the productivity, how this works, how it hits, I feel like it's a fantastic device. Like I said, there are a few bad things though, not really even bad, just a little quirks to this device, but I figured I'd just show you the outside of the packaging a little bit. We'll get into the packaging and then we'll get into the guts. So this is the packaging, IPV5, nothing fancy, too fancy, no overdoing it. It's pretty simplistic, and I really like that about IPV5. The IPV5, the previous boxes of the past weren't too far in depth either. I mean, when it came to the IPV3, I know it was pretty simplistic, but I love that about the boxes. I think that they're really nice. We have instruction manuals for a reason. There's no reason to go overboard ridiculous with the packaging. Upon opening the package, you will notice, of course, your mod will be usually sitting in the sleigh. However, you will get... Oh, my bad, people. You will get a user manual, and of course, your oh-so-coveted warranty card. Awesome. And then, last but not least, how could we forget this guy? Quality assurance stamp. Yay! Outside of that, let's see what's down further in the box. So you go further, you will have your firmware update cable. Specifically used for firmware updates only. But, yeah, that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. We're going to wrap the at a glance up, and then we're going to go ahead and get into the guts. And we're back. So now it's time for the segment that we like to call In the Guts, getting to know the inside and outside of this device a little bit better. I figure I'll go ahead and show you how this thing performs, what is going on with it, and get a little bit on the quirks. The quirks aren't too bad, but I'll dive into that here in just a second. So the way it works, of course, is very simplistic. It's doing the 18650s series, of course, because it's a regulated box that goes up to 200 watts. This will be in series. You're not going to want to put both positives up. You're going to want to put a positive on the left and then positive down on the right. But I really like the design of the back. I think that the magnets are nice and very, very well done. The IPV3, as most people know, didn't have magnets, but I like that they're trying to utilize a quick access for it, because the IPV3 Li could have a few issues with trying to slide it down and get to the batteries, especially if it was new. It was very hard to get into it, but with this it was very simplistic, not hard at all. Currently I'm rocking the Mutation V4 on it. I do have a 0.55 build according to my ohm reader. Clapton's over a 3mm screwdriver. Pretty good, great flavor. 90 watts is all I really need on it, so this is a great little setup for me. But getting down into the screen, the one thing I do want to touch on is when I first got this device, I took it out. I was kind of excited to use it. I decided to throw it up to, or try to throw it up to 200 watts, because I do have a build that can support that. But I decided to throw it up 200 watts and see what was going on. I threw my Centurion on it, and it was only going up to 75, and it was confusing me. I didn't know why. But I decided to just go ahead and get into and see if maybe there was a way I could up that by going in temperature and setting the nickel temperature up to 120 joules. Not really the temperature, but the power settings. So what I did is I just went into joules. Of course, select temp. I didn't really care at that point. Going to nickel, I decided to max out the joules to where it would go, as far as it would go. And then I went back to the power. I know it seems like a lot, but I really wanted to make this device work. I didn't want to have to, see about sending it back. So I decided to look into it a little further. And sure enough, it got me past that 75 mark. It will go all the way up now to the 200 watts. You probably won't be able to see that for just a second, so I'm going to let the screen time out and show it to you. So there you are, 200 watts. Not bad. Not personally where I like mine. Like I said, with the build that I have in it, it's going to be around the 92 range. So I just kick it down to 92.5 and I'm good. Now there are different settings for temperature control if you're into that. Personally, I am not. I like the builds that I get with my Kanthal. I love the flavor that I get with my Kanthal, so I use Kanthal. But when it comes to it, if you are into the temp control and you really like that, there is options. Of course, you can go up to, on the temperature, I think it's 600 degrees. Oops, went backwards. My bad. But 572. You would have thought that they might have kicked that up to 600 since most devices now do it. But maybe that is another thing that I'm not too fond of. I do only rock mine at 530, so it's not too big of an issue, but there are people who do like that 600 mark. So, I don't know. Maybe we should step the game up, see what's going on with that. But I personally, it doesn't bother me. Going into the manual TCR, of course, manual temperature coefficient ranges, for those people who like to get precise or just nerd out a little bit, they do have that option. With the SX Pure, I haven't really messed with any of that. Like I said, I'm a Kanthal guy, but you do have the option for SX Pure. You have SS304, that's for your stainless steel, Titanium 01, and then Ni 200. Of course, when it comes to that, that's not really my style. So I just swap it back to power. Now the way you're going to get through pretty much entering what's going on, when you're in 5 clicks, it's just like the other IPVs. On the system, when you go over, like especially with the IPv3 Li, it gets you over by just clicking. However, if you go to like power, go over to Joule, this button is going to get you to the next screen to further that Fahrenheit or Celsius. I'm in America, so we use Fahrenheit. And then setting your temp, and then selecting what setup you like. But personally, like I said, it's not for me. I don't really do it. I just wanted to show you exactly how to use it. So I'm going to swap over to power and show you a couple of more things about this device. So one of the things that most people know when it comes to temperature control, the one thing that you're going to want to definitely do is you're going to want to set your resistance with the wire that you're using, especially on these IPVs. I made the mistake and didn't do that one time when I was using a nickel build on my IPv3 Li, and I watched my cotton burn up in flames. It was pretty crazy, but yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a really nice device. The way that you're going to want to set resistance is by using the up and down buttons simultaneously, and then of course hitting power whenever you're done setting the resistance. Usually it reads out pretty concise, very consistent, so I keep it exactly where it's at. I don't really have to have too much accuracy when it comes to Kanthal setup, but with nickel you want to make sure that your ohm reader and everything is quite on point. This should read your coil, so you shouldn't have any issues. I usually stick with the set resistance that it shows, but there are people who like to set the resistance a little bit higher or lower depending on their personal preferences, and that's all good, people. Everything is subjective, so whatever your needs are, feel free to get in on it, and make sure that you utilize this the best way you can. Of course, as I've touched, this does have a firmware update cable. The way that you're going to do that is by using it through the micro USB port right here on the bottom. This is not a charging port, people. This is mainly for firmware updates. But outside of that, that's pretty much it. The only quirk I had, of course, was the having to go into temperature control and to do the nickel up to, like, bump the nickel up to 120 joules. I think that it is a fantastic device, but that was a bit of an issue, especially because I was kind of freaking out. I was like, I didn't know if it was going to go up to 200. If it wasn't, this was just an off-the-wall chance, and it turned out that it worked. I bumped my joules all the way up, went back into power, and it goes up to 200. But outside of that, I think we're good. I guess it's time to go back up and talk a little bit more about it and tell you what I personally think the goods and bads are of this device. Alright, so we're going to go up, get it all in for the glory. The fact of the matter is, people, this is going to be in the guts part 2. I completely forgot to mention that this does have memory banks, just like the IPv3 Li. The way that you're going to work with it, of course, up gets you over to the memory bank. It'll get you 10 watts, 40 watts. I think this was 80, and then it jumps to 200. However, I wanted to show you how it works. When it comes to it, the way that you're going to get it is you can get through it by scrolling up, or if you want to set a memory bank, you're just going to press down once and then go up. Select what you want, click it, and that's set. So now, when it's set, you can just scroll through, and it goes to that. There is a total of 5 memory banks, just like before. That's the only other thing I wanted to touch on, people. So In the Guts Part 2 is officially wrapped up. My bad for not touching on it on the first hit. But we're going to go ahead and go up, talk about it, and see what it is for the glory. And there we have it, people. What do I think about it? I think it's a fantastic device. It's an IPv5. All of the IPv series has been pretty nice to me. The battery life is great. The only issue I had, the complaint I had, is the glitch with the wattage. Not being able to maximize that right out the box. But going into nickel and changing the joules to the maximum, and then switching back to power, I think that was kind of weird, but it seemed to work. It goes up to 200 watts now. I have no complaints. The battery life's great. Like I said, it's an IPv5. But I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of hits, and then we'll wrap it up, call it good. Delicious. It's amazing. I love this thing. It hits really strong. But outside of that, what did y'all think? What do you think we should do for our next review? Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. And remember, America, vape on, vape strong.